Welcome back to Under Review. We have lots to talk about as the women took on the first Battle for Atlantis tournament. But before we get into the elephant in the room, South Carolina championship game, let's talk about the first two rounds. I'm Mahn.
And I'm Mengel. Let's break down how the Huskies performed in Atlantis.
Let's get into that first round play against Minnesota. Who do you think stood out?
For me, it was Kristen Williams, and she looked like an absolute star. 31 points on 12 of 14 shooting with 4 rebounds, and going 4 for 4 from the free throw line, which we saw her struggle a little bit from in the first game. I think that was just an impressive performance all around by her. And Paige seems to get the spotlight, but Kristen's just as important to this team. What are your thoughts on her?
Kristen's definitely underrated. I know Paige got a lot of props for her 34-point game, but Kristen is not too far with her 31 points. Talking about Paige, she definitely had a different game in this Minnesota one, only having 8 points but distributing a lot more to her teammates. Additionally, she had that stat of 0 turnovers in 69 minutes of play. How do you think Paige did this game?
I thought she took a little bit of a backseat, which is a good sign for the Huskies, because if she has to be the one to score every single time, we're going to run into teams that can scheme around that. For her to only take 7 shots and for us to still put up over 80 points is it's great news for the Huskies going forward.
The guards did especially well this game, including Avina Westbrook shooting 3 for 5 from deep. She had 16 points. Honestly, Avina's a little underrated in her own way. She's always provided a lot since she's transferred here. But on the contrary, some of the bigs have been having some trouble. What do you think about that?
Once again, none of them really stood out above the other ones. You saw Aaliyah have 8 points on 4 of 4 shooting. Olivia Nelson-Ododa collected 8 rebounds, and she's always altering shots down low, but none of them are taking advantage of the other ones playing poorly, I want to say, or under what they would normally do in these circumstances against these kind of teams. And I'm just waiting for one of them to take hold of this spot and just push themselves as the dominant forward here.
After they advanced in that game, 88-58, they took on the University of South Florida, their first ranked opponent. How do you think that game went?
I thought it went overall pretty well. On my first watch, I was a little unsatisfied with the outcome, only winning by 7. But over the last week, South Florida has proven to be a very good ranked team. They're up to 13th in the nation with wins over Oregon and Stanford. So that proved a lot to me. And so they're one of these top tier teams that's going to be maybe a 2, 3, 4 seed in the tournament. And a win's a win against one of those programs. There's a common theme with UConn of getting up early in games and not being able to hold or extend the leads. They led Arkansas 17-2, and they kind of hung around. They led Minnesota 20-5 before they actually were down, or they were only up by 1, 31-30. And USF, they led 27-14 before actually being behind in the third quarter, 45-42. The Husky teams of old would take these leads and turn them into 20 or 30 points and just take the team completely out of the game, but right now they're just letting them back in it.
I think also the difference between these lower ranked teams and higher ranked teams isn't as large as before. Gino said it in his post-game conference that the competition in women's basketball is a lot more intense and that these lower ranked teams are actually getting a lot better. And then that it's not just a fight between like 1, 2, and 3 anymore. So I definitely think South Florida was going to be more competitive than most people thought, but I thought it was a well-fought game.
Absolutely. We've already seen 4 of the top 5 teams shuffle around already. UConn dropped to 3, they're back up to 2. Everyone's losing early on in the season. There's a lot of stuff to iron out and get better at. So going into individual performances, who stood out to you in this game?
Gotta say, Azzi Fudd with her coming out party. She made 6 out of 9 3-pointers. I know Gino said that he wanted her to shoot it whenever she got the ball, and she definitely took his advice there.
Yeah, she looked really good. I thought in the game against Minnesota, the light bulb kind of went on and started to click a little bit, and we really saw that in the USF game.
I also think Olivia Nelson-Ododa, 7 assists. I think that's pretty cool. I know Paige had the same amount, but to have a forward seeing that many people, she's usually just doing layups, so I thought that was pretty impressive.
Yeah, usually when she catches it on the block, she's going up with it, but if they're going to double her, she's got to find people around her to kick it out, and she did a great job of that.
As much as the Huskies got a win, there were some concerns in this game, and I think that started with forward Dorka Juhas.
Yeah, she hasn't looked like her Ohio State self yet. She's not made a three-pointer. She's been fumbling the ball, a few missed layups here and there. She just doesn't really look comfortable to me yet. What are your thoughts?
I think that she's having a tough time fitting in with the rest of the team. I know that a lot of them have already played together. Olivia, this being her 4th year. I hope that she'll get stronger down there, but for now I'm just trusting Olivia Nelson-Ododa a lot more.
I agree. It's tough to be a transfer and to come into a new environment, especially with COVID and all those restrictions they had at first, and now just to come in and a whole new team, people you've never played with before, it's not easy to fit in. And like you said, there's signs of that early on.
She still has, I think, a year after this too, so hopefully she can learn from this because I definitely do see potential in her. As much as there were some pros and cons of the games, survive and advance.
That's the name of the game. The Huskies proved that they could win a grinded-out, low-scoring affair, which we haven't really seen, which was nice for them.
Thanks for watching this episode of Under Review. Next episode, we will break down that South Carolina championship game. I'm Mahn.
And I'm Mengel. Thanks for watching.